This week, the HPT crowns a champion from the luxurious Belterra Casino Resort in Florence, Indiana. Last week, we started with the Elite 9 from a competitive field that featured four-time HPT champ Greg Raymer and 2012 November 9er Jeremy Osmus. Now we continue with 5 players, and among them is past HPT champion Mike Harris. The Cowboy is looking to become only the 3rd player with multiple championships, while the other 4 talented rounders are vying for their own names to be scribed into the HPT history books. The stage is set for drama as almost $96,000 awaits the last player standing.
This is the HPT.
Sit right down, put on your poker face, you with the big dogs now. Better bring your best game, talk trash all you want. To me it's all the same, you won't leave with much when you come in second place. And I'm the one with the stack showing 7 to the jack. Gon' cry to your mama cause I'm sending you back. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. Last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand.
Hello, my friend, and welcome again to the HPT for the finale of a final table that is sure to be an instant classic. We're at the beautiful Belterra Casino Resort in Florence, Indiana. I'm Fred Bevel. The pretty lady to my left is poker pro Maria Ho. Maria, as we continue 5-handed towards our newest champion, right now Matt James is our chip leader, but all eyes are on Mike the Cowboy Harris.
Mike is the gentle giant at this final table, vying to join Greg Raymer and Jeremy Dresch as the only players to win multiple championships. But the man to beat right now is Matt James. Matt's been the chip leader throughout this final table and has full command of things right now.
The other 3 players remaining at this final table are quite a distance behind Matt James and Mike Harris, but Maria, as we've seen so many times over the years, momentum and fortunes can swing on a dime in this game.
In order for Matt to stay in control, he is going to have to continue to stay aggressive, especially in position and against the smaller stacks and weaker players. Mike will need to start opening up his raising range pre-flop and not back down when he's faced with an aggressive opponent after the flop. The rest of the players will need to start getting more active and getting involved in more pots if they don't want to see their chip stacks dwindle.
A lot of poker left to be played before we crown our next champion. Let's take a look at the money on the line and what these players are starting out with as we continue 5-handed poker.
And here's a look at what the remaining 5 players are going to be playing for. First place will be taking home $95,000 and change. 5th place, it's getting up there. $21,922 is not a bad payday.
Especially when most of these players are in for under $500. Here is the updated chip count.
Matt James is still holding strong onto the top spot, but Mike Harris doesn't seem to be going anywhere in the 2nd spot. Ryan Ashman is still our short stack.
Ryan Ashman with only 17 big blinds left in his stack. He's going to have to make a move quick or figure out how he's going to spend $20,000. Leading the action is Ryan Ashman, our short stack, over to Casey Yance. He folds. And this is Mike Harris, known as the Cowboy, past HPT champion. He's going to fold.
Mike Harris folded on the button here, and for somebody who has a really tight image right now, given the fact he hasn't played a lot of hands, I would have liked to see him open there.
Ben Grice is just going to limp from the small blind, and Matt James, the chip leader, is going to check his option from the big blind.
It's a little bit of passive play here going all around after the button and into the blinds. I think I would have liked somebody to try to just take a stab at this before the flop.
And the flop comes ace, 4, 6 rainbow.
Ben hits top pair with aces from the small blind, and Matt has 2nd pair with 6s.
And given that Ben limped and Matt checked, neither of these guys really have any information on what they might be holding here. Ben's going to lead out for $30,000.
I expect Matt to just call him here, and he does.
So Matt stepping cautiously, as he should. The turn brings a deuce, and things get even better for Ben.
Ben now makes 2 pair, and he decides he wants to check it over to Matt and see if Matt's going to put in some chips for him.
Oh, that's cagey. I like Ben's check there. Looks like he was just firing out on the flop, and now he's shutting down on the turn, and he's going to get what he wants. Matt's going to fire $75,000.
And I'm assuming if Ben decides to check it over to Matt here, he's just going to call him and hope that he's going to bet again on the river.
And that's exactly what he does. He just flat calls. Ben laying a nice little trap here.
The problem is, though, Matt only does have second pair here, so wow, I was going to say unless he improves, I don't see him betting again. But he does, and he makes a worse two pair with 7s and 6s against Ben's aces and deuces, and it looks like he is counting out a hefty bet here.
He makes it 125,000. Ben quickly snap calls, and he's going to show the better two pair.
Ben was pretty fortunate there that Matt made two pair, because if he didn't, I think Ben would have lost some money on the river.
Now, did the coordinated board keep Matt from re-raising there on the river?
Yeah, this is definitely the kind of spot where there's no real point in Ben raising on the river because he could only get called by better or possibly re-raised.
Again, I just learned a little more about the game of poker. Blinds continuing on at 15 and 30,000 with a 4K ante. Mike Harris first to act. Mike Harris first to fold. Back to Ben. Another raggedy hand goes to the muck. Over to Matt James. Matt with just 5-8. But he might be steaming a little bit here.
Yeah, and I think he's doing what I thought Mike should do, is raise on the button. You're one of the top chip stacks. There's no reason to not get aggressive.
Well, he gets rid of the small blind. And Ryan now over to Casey from the big blind, who wakes up with suited King Jack. And he's going to make the easy call. 155,000 in this pot as we go to the flop.
The flop is 4 Queen 8 with 2 spades, giving Casey a flush draw. Matt has paired his 8, and I'm assuming he's going to go ahead and continuation bet.
Casey checks his flush draw over to Matt, who was the pre-flop raiser, and now he's got middle pair. And as expected, he's going to fire, makes it 70,000.
I think Casey with a flush draw here is contemplating whether or not he should raise or just call. I prefer a call here because Casey not only has a flush draw, but he also does have an overcard to the board, which if he were to hit on the turn, he could get Matt to represent that for him.
From your lips to Casey's play, he does make the call. And the turn comes a 7 of clubs. No help for either player.
Now this is interesting because Casey looks like he's going to reach for chips and bet here, which I actually like it because he can expect Matt to check behind here a lot, and I think Casey wants to put him to the test and start taking the initiative here.
Well, that 7 of clubs, not really a scare card. It doesn't seem to be shaking Matt too much that he's just been bet into. He is going to flat call it here. Now, does he believe his 8s are the best, or would he have raised if he thought his 8s were the best?
Unfortunately for Casey, his bet on the turn would have worked here if Matt hadn't paired the 8 on the flop, but now I don't think Matt's really going to go anywhere.
It's a blank on the river for Casey. A 2 of hearts falls, missing his flush, missing the king. Matt has the best hand, and he's not going to fire. He's going to check behind and just show his winning hand.
8-5 of diamonds.
And Casey's like, so many outs. Not enough streets.
Poker's really easy in retrospect, and I think now Casey's wishing he raised the flop. As we're getting closer to reaching a winner, more poker when we come back.
Welcome back to the HPT from the Belterra Casino Resort Hotel in Eastern Indiana. I'm Fred Bevel. This is Maria Ho. Let's take a look at the updated chip count.
And taking a look at our updated chip counts, you see that everybody's fairly comfortable with the exception of Ryan Ashman. Everybody has over $1 million, with Matt and Mike still leading the top two.
Casey has lost over 300,000 since we last checked in. These guys aren't afraid to move some chips into the middle.
No, and now that it's getting short-handed, I think that's definitely the way to go. You have to be involved a lot more, and you have to be willing to play pots.
This hand starts off with Ryan Ashman as he folds. Casey folds as well. Over to the cowboy, ace-6 offsuit.
I guess he's finally found a hand that's good enough to open the button, but it looks like even ace-6 on the button is not good enough for him to open with. He is playing really tight.
Well, what about Ben waking up with a wired pair and just limping from the small blind? How do you think about that?
I'm not a big fan of just limping in from the small blind unless you have some kind of extravagant 3-bet, 4-bet dynamic going on with the big blind. I think he could have just opened here and Matt would have probably just called, but instead, Ben lets Matt take the initiative in this hand.
Matt does raise it to 130, and Ben quickly calls for another 100. Now, Maria, this is where I'm confused. If you're willing to call 100, why not just lead out for 100?
Absolutely. And now with a flop like 10-7 deuce, Ben's going to be in a really uncertain situation with his fives.
And Ben is going to check, leaving a wide open door for Matt.
He checks as well.
But instead, Matt opts to check here, which I'm a little bit baffled by because we've seen Matt continuation bet almost every time, and he had the initiative on that flop. Ben didn't have a hand that he could comfortably call with, and now it looks like Ben's thinking about taking the hand away from Matt here.
Well, I don't know if he's going to be successful. The turn brings a king, giving Matt an open-ended straight draw. Ben's five still the best, but he's been playing him really passively, and he continues to as he checks the turn.
Matt now in the 1 seat.
And let's see if Matt chooses to semi-bluff here with his draw.
When Ben checks to Matt on the turn, I expect Matt to be betting that 100% of the time, and he does, and it works. He gets Ben to fold the best hand.
Matt widening that chip lead as he stacks almost a $500,000 in chips from Ben. Moving on to the next hand here, blinds are still at 15 and 30 with a 4,000 chip ante. And this is Casey Yauntz, 27 years old, lives in Columbus, Ohio. Says if he wasn't playing poker professionally, Casey would be a history teacher. That's two opposite ends of the spectrum, isn't it? Be a gambler or be a history teacher. Action is now on the cowboy, Mike Harris, rancher from Wyoming, who's just going to call with, oh, we don't know with what. It's the mystery hand.
Oh yeah, give the mystery hand to Mike, who I can't seem to figure out for the life of me.
Put on the Poker Pro hat, Maria Ho. Let's start speculating what Mike Harris might have. We know Casey's got the wired 7, and after Mike's call, the action is folded, and we are heads up going to the flop.
I don't expect to do too well on this one, but I'm going to give it my best.
The flop comes ace, 5, ace with a couple of spades. Casey checks over to Mike. Mike checks behind. Maria, any ideas yet?
Not a clue, and I'm not even going to pretend like I do.
A king of spades comes on the turn.
I can say that Mike could have an ace or not because he could be slow playing the trips that he flopped. Since we've also seen that he's a little bit on the tighter side, he might have come in with an ace here without 3-betting Casey's open.
Well, both players check the turn. A 4 comes on the river. Casey again checks. He's pretty much all but shut down in this hand. I got to think if Mike fires here, he's going to win.
Well, now I'm pretty certain that Mike doesn't have an ace, but he could possibly have a king here and checked it back on the turn. So, you know what? Shot in the dark, literally, I am going to give him king, queen, or king, jack here.
100,000 is the bet from Mike, and Casey
I don't even beat a bluff.
has the best hand, but
I think it's hard for Casey to fold here. Mike opted to not bet the flop nor the turn, and I think now Casey's just going to have to call and hope he has the best hand.
well, that's what he does. He's calling. And look at that, Maria, with ace-5, Mike flops the boat.
Well, I wasn't way off base by saying that Mike wouldn't necessarily 3-bet with an ace in his hand pre-flop, and he did slow play like I said he could have, but I think he may have slow played a little too much.
Left a little bit of chips on the table, you think?
I think he could have gotten Casey to call a turn and a river bet, but we'll never know now.
Well, Mike Harris is going to stack some much-needed chips. I'm digging that mystery hand thing. I learn a lot when you start speculating whole cards.
Well, I thought Mike was going with thin value there with King X, but it looked like he was going for really obvious value.
Raise.
Mike Harris is getting active, raising it up with 9-10 offsuit. Makes it 60,000 to go, a min raise.
And this is where I stress again, momentum is huge. You see Mike being a little bit passive, but he wins a pot, albeit with a full house, and now he wants to open up his game more.
And Matt is going to make the call with the same hand, 9-10 offsuit.
I love watching two players with the same hand play it out because a lot of the times when you don't connect with the board, it's really interesting to see who decides to outplay the other.
The flop comes deuce, king, 10 with a couple of spades, and Matt's going to go ahead and check over to Mike, who was the pre-flop raiser. And Mike's doing what pre-flop raisers do. They continuation bet, another $60,000 bet. Maria, that seems too low.
I don't actually mind Mike sizing here. I think he doesn't really want to play a huge pot. He wants to exercise a little bit of pot control. He might be a little bit scared of that king on the board. And we can't really blame him for not wanting to get into a huge pot with the chip leader.
The 1 and 2 stacks going at it here as the turn brings a 5 of clubs. Big swing and a miss. Matt again is going to check over to Mike, who's been the pre-flop raiser. Continuation bet, but here on the turn he's going to shut down. And the river brings a 9, giving both players 2 pair.
Matt checks. I imagine now Mike's going to fire again. Matt's obviously going to call, and they're going to see that this is a chop pot.
Any chance Mike can bet enough to get Matt off his 2 pairs? Wow, I can't believe he just checked, though. So both players obviously chopping this pot, but Maria, I can't help but think a river bet from Mike would have made him the winner.
I think Mike loses a lot of value from worse hands that would call him there. But, c'est la vie. Let's get to know Matt a little bit better.
My name is Matt James. I'm from Hamilton, Ohio, and I'm a manufacturing technician with Ford Motor Company. This is my first HPT event. I'm happy as the chip leader going into the final table here. The structure has been amazing. It's allowed for some deep play with the blind levels, the time. The TV aspect, honestly, I'm a little nervous about that. Not quite sure what to expect, but we'll go from there.
We'll be back with more action here at Belterra Casino Resort when we come back. Welcome back to the Belterra Casino Resort Hotel as we are 5-handed on the road to a new champion.
And here's a look at how these players are faring. Matt and Mike, once again, still in the top 2 spots. Ryan Ashman is still holding on, though, with $360,000. Doesn't look like much movement's going on.
No, these players have been pretty stagnant since we last checked in here. Matt and Mike have been swapping the chip lead back and forth. Ben, Casey, and Ryan just hoping to crack the top 2 here. Blinds have gone up. They're now 20 and 40,000 with a 5,000 chip ante. Action in this hand will start with Matt James, our chip leader. Resides in Hamilton, Ohio. Says he got a haircut today so as not to disappoint his mother. It's nice that boys still want to keep their moms proud.
Yeah, I want to meet his mother. She could still keep a 36-year-old in line.
Casey's going to make it 90,000 to go. Again, King Queen makes an appearance. Of course, this time, Ben wakes up with wired kings. Maria, this could get bloody.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out here, Fred, that your favorite hand doesn't do so well. Maybe you could learn a thing or two. Is this how you've been busting out of your tournaments?
Most likely, yeah. But everyone's favorite hand can't be a good hand, right? I mean, King Queen actually isn't all that bad. But
my favorite hand is aces, okay? Boring, but I'm the favorite.
Fair enough. Well, Ben, as expected, is going to re-raise it here. Makes it 185,000 to go. And Casey is going to shove.
185.
And he sees he has just ran into a buzzsaw.
Well,
nice.
Casey here has 25 big blinds, and he decided to get a little bit more aggressive with that stack. And given the fact that it's 5-handed, I don't really think that was a huge mistake.
Well, the flop comes Jack, Ace, 4 with a couple of clubs.
Oh, but those king queens are good at flopping Broadway draws, but missing so far. So we'll see if Casey will be the one to turn this around.
A 10 of clubs would be a fun sweat card on the turn. Let's see what it brings. Boom! It's a 10, and you said King Queen never wins. Ha!
Well, that was lucky for Casey, but unfortunate for Ben. He's going to need a queen on the river just to chop.
Let's go ahead and see the river card.
And the river is the deuce of clubs, and it is not going to do it. Casey is going to double up here with what was the worst of it before the flop.
But it's the best of it after the turn. And look at that. Whenever a player sucks out, they always look a little sheepish as they go to count out their stats. See, look at him. He knows he got caught.
I gotta tell you, when I bad beat people, I say sorry. And I've had people say to me, "You're not sorry."
Are you really, though?
No, but...
Of course not.
But allow me to apologize for my massive suck out. Jeez.
You're so nice. Moving on now, blinds remain at 20 and 40,000 with a 5K ante. First to act in this hand is Ryan Ashman with King 10 offsuit, and why not get them all in the middle?
It's about time for Ryan. He is pretty much running on fumes with something like 7 big blinds here.
275 is the total rated amount total.
And Ace Jack is what Casey wakes up with. He's just going to flat call the all-in. See if these players decide to gang up on one and get a pay raise. Mike wakes up with a suited queen eight.
I think Casey needed to 3-bet and isolate Ryan's all in here. You don't really want more people to come into this pot, and Casey had the chance to score the knockout.
I fold.
Mike is going to fold. Ben quickly folds, and so does Matt.
Both other players fold, so we flip the cards over, and we see.
Well, we're going to go to the flop with Casey ahead, but Ryan has a couple of live cards.
He's behind to the ace of diamonds, jack of clubs.
Here comes the flop.
Let's go ahead and see the flop, please.
And the flop is Jack 10-7 with 2 hearts. Casey remains in the lead, flopping top pair, but Ryan flops second pair, and he's still looking to improve.
Small piece of that, but the ace jack with the jacks in the lead still. Let's go ahead and see the turn.
On to the turn we go. The turn brings a 9 of spades. Interesting.
Casey is still in the lead with a pair of jacks, but this gives Ryan a few more outs, as any queen now can also win him the pot.
So a king, a 10, or a queen is what Ryan's hoping for, or he will be eliminated in 5th place.
Or a queen, or a straight. Let's go ahead and see the river card, please.
And the river is a 3, and Ryan Ashman will indeed be eliminated in 5th place.
Ryan, for my dollar, one of the better players at this final table, just ran a little card dead. And with that, the 36-year-old from Hubbard, Ohio, has to say goodbye. But Maria, he has something on his resume you and I don't have. He's bowled a perfect game. Let's hear what he has to say about this week's final table.
I played fairly well, but then once I took a big hit, I was short stacked, and he just kept pushing and pushing, like expected. I didn't have any cards to push back until the last one, which wasn't good enough. So.
And then there were 4. Come back for more from Belterra Casino Resort.
Welcome back to the HPT. The championship is almost here. Let's take a look at the updated chip count.
Now let's take a look at the chip counts for the final 4. Matt James is still in the lead with a little over 3 million, but Casey Yance has overtaken Mike Harris for the 2nd spot. Ben Grice is sitting on the short stack with just 470K.
Getting ever closer to our newest HPT champion. His blinds are 20 and 40,000 with a 5,000 chip ante. This is Matt James, the chip leader. Started out this final table as the chip leader when we were 9-handed. Lost that chip lead briefly to Mike Harris. Now he's gained it back again. Action folded to the Cowboy Mike Harris. 7-9 offsuit is his holding.
He's in the small blind here, and given the way he's played thus far, I'm going to say he's just going to limp, but once again, I advocate opening.
And you were right, Maria. He is just going to limp over to Ben in the big blind. He's got 10 jack. Ben's 29 years old, lives in Indianapolis, Indiana.
I check.
Made the final table in event 54 last year at the World Series, so this kid's got some game.
But he doesn't quite show that game here, as he checked his option from the big blind with only 12 bigs. It was a very clear all-in pre-flop here from Ben, I think.
The flop comes 4 deuce queen with a couple of clubs, so both players miss.
Mike had checked in the dark, and now Ben checks as well. I think Mike's proven to be a bit of a passive player, so I think Ben could have easily just bet and taken this away from him.
The turn brings of 9 of hearts, which is very interesting, giving Ben an open-ended straight draw and Mike's second pair.
And Ben let Mike see a free turn card there, which allowed Mike to pull ahead with his pair of 9s. And now Ben's in an interesting situation with his open-ended straight draw.
Mike fires out 100,000. Ben then goes all in on a semi-bluff. And can Mike get away from this right now?
I think Mike's shown that he doesn't react well to aggression, so he might just fold here.
Is the all-in raise is the 425. The original bet was 100 by Mr. Harris.
It's 325 to call. Mike does make the call, and he's going to find that he's ahead.
I think there are just too many draws there for Mike to fold. And now I think Ben's questioning his play a little bit, considering he didn't have to get all his chips in and would have been able to take down this pot on the flop.
You are correct.
Ben with a lot of outs going to the river for his tournament life. A 10, a jack, an 8, or a king makes him a winner. The river brings an ace, and that is not going to do it.
Sometimes you just have one out too many, and unfortunately for Ben, he's knocked out in 4th place, and I think it's going to be a long ride home.
He might be thinking about that last hand on his way to Indianapolis. Let's hear what Ben has to say about this final table.
I think I played as best as I could with the information I had in the hand, the way the hands played out. I think I played well. I got my money in as a huge favorite, and that's what every poker player tries to do, and that's what I did, so I think I played well.
Action continuing on at 20 and 40,000 blinds with a 5K ante. Mike Harris this time wakes up with ace-10.
And the HPT championship button is on Mr. Harris, so we first.
And now that he's 3-handed, I'm hoping that's enough for him to raise.
It is indeed. He makes it 100,000 to go. And over to Matt in the 1 seat. Also has an ace, ace-5. This is where it could get really tricky for some of these players. Here we go. He announces a raise, makes it 270. Casey quickly out of the way, back to Mike.
And it's like what I've been saying. I think Mike is going to find himself having a hard time playing short-handed against these players who are a lot more aggressive than he is.
And Mike is just going to flat call. Maria, do you think a 4-bet would have been appropriate here, or do you like the call?
I like the call in position. I think he has the best hand a lot here, and he can extract a lot more chips that way.
Well, we have an action flop. It comes ace-7-6 with a couple of diamonds.
Both players flop top pair, except Mike's kicker is just a little bit better with that 10.
And Matt is first to act here post-flop, and he is betting. Makes it 275,000.
Call.
And Mike immediately puts in the call.
And he's calling with his lesser value chips. I think I read somewhere that when a player calls with lower denomination chips, he's not very comfortable with his hand.
Absolutely. It kind of means that they're not expecting to get those chips back.
Well, on to the turn we go.
The turn is the deuce of hearts. Doesn't really change much, keeps Mike in the lead, but Matt has been the post-flop aggressor.
Matt is going to slow down now. Action moves back over to Mike, who is going to keep his foot on the gas pedal, makes it 400,000.
I think that's a smart check by Matt. Mike wouldn't really call that flop if he didn't have a pretty good piece of it, and I think he's going to take a little bit of a backseat to that now.
Well, it doesn't make him fold, though. He's going to call the 400,000. Getting rid of an ace in a 3-handed game is pretty tough to do.
I don't really see Matt folding this hand unless the river's a scare card like a diamond.
Let's go ahead and see the river card, please, Tiff.
And the river is a jack of spades.
Once again.
Matt still has kicker problems as the 10 is going to play. Let's see what Mike does.
Check.
Matt is going to check over to Mike. Mike is happy to check behind. And they're going to show it down. And look at Mike. Yeah, there you go, Cowboy. He's excited. He's going to scoop almost $2 million in chips. And with that, Maria, he has retaken the chip lead.
And since Matt did 3-bet before the flop, I don't mind Mike's check there, as he could have been outkicked. And now he's going to add some much-needed chips to his stack if he wants to play with the big boys.
Welcome back to the HPT from Belterra Casino Resort in Florence, Indiana. We are 3-handed as we get ever closer to our newest HPT champion.
And here's a look at where the 3 remaining players stand. Mike Harris has now taken the chip lead away from Matt James with $3.6 million. Casey is in second, and Matt is at a very comfortable $1.8 million.
Yeah, even the short stack not so short. He's still got 46 big blinds in his stack, even though he's lost almost $1.4 million in that big hand against Mike Harris. Action continuing on at 20 and 40,000 with a 5,000 chip ante. This is the Cowboy, Mike Harris, born in Hot Springs, South Dakota. He's been a rancher most of his life, making his 3rd final table today and going for his 2nd HPT champion. And this is Matt James, the former chip leader in the small blind, is going to limp over to Casey Yance.
Casey looks down at 10-6 off and is going to check from the big blind. They're both just going to test the waters out a little bit on this hand.
And the flop comes 8-7 ace with a couple of clubs.
And Matt has paired his 7, but Casey has flopped a gut shot.
60.
And Matt is going to fire, makes it 60,000 to go. And Casey With just a gut shot and no clubs in his hands, Maria, does he make the call?
I don't mind him calling here for the gut shot. It's hard for him to represent the ace and raise, considering he didn't raise before the flop.
Let's go ahead and see the turn, please. Seven of
And the
spades.
turn is the 7 of spades, giving Matt trip sevens.
Matt has a hammer lock on this hand now, but you can see Casey still with that gut shot draw. Matt this time, 125,000. That just screams, please call me.
And I think Casey is either going to raise and try to make a move, because I don't really see why he would call for the gut shot twice.
He has unfortunate timing in choosing when to make a move. He's going to make it 375,000 now. And Matt sitting on trips is like a little boy eating cotton candy at the parade right now.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's just bad timing for Casey, but I can see why he's trying to get aggressive here, and I don't really mind it.
Well, Matt just smooth calls here. Not afraid of the clubs.
I think Matt's pretty sure he has the best hand, but he also doesn't want to put himself in a sticky situation by raising.
The river brings a king of diamonds. That's a blank for Casey. Matt has the best hand, and he's going to check it over. Why not bet there, Maria?
Well, I think he's giving Casey another chance to fire. I'm just not sure Casey has it in him to fire again, though.
He does not, and that's a wise check in my opinion. Matt announces the trips, and Casey just says, yeah, whatever, and folds his cards. And look at that, almost $1 million in chips going back to the former chip leader, making that top of the leaderboard even tighter.
I really like the way that Matt's been able to lose his chip lead but regain it. He seems to be playing a very steady and composed game. And Casey as well has been very, very aggressive and active in spots where you wouldn't think he would be, and I'm impressed by that.
Well, this time Casey just limps with a big hand, trying to set something up for Mike. Mike's going to check his option.
I'm not a big fan of Casey just limping with such a big hand from the small blind. I think we've seen that Mike has a tendency to not raise too often, but he'll call raises, which means Casey might have been able to get him to put some more chips in the pot. The flop is 4 King 10, which actually puts Mike ahead with bottom pair. Casey's going to check it to him, and Mike is going to make it 100,000 to go.
Mike not so passive anymore, Maria, firing out on bottom pair, and Casey making the call. That's a little surprising.
Well, Casey does have the gut shot to the jack, and he's hoping that his ace high might be good.
The turn brings a king of clubs. Again, Mike still has the best, and Casey still checking over to him. This time Mike's going to check behind.
Go ahead and see the river card, please.
The river is the 5 of clubs, and Casey doesn't improve, but he does have a hand that could possibly win at showdown. And Mike does let it go to showdown by checking behind, and he's going to win this pot with kings and 4s.
Mike Harris scoops a small but far from insignificant pot. This gentleman making his third final table, going for a second championship. Let's get to know the cowboy a little bit better.
Mike Harris from Newcastle, Wyoming, and I'm a cattle rancher. I'm pretty happy with my chip stack right now. I really don't have a strategy, just going to kind of play the players. I think I know them already pretty well. I've been playing with the same bunch now for 4 or 5 hours, so there's some awfully good players here, and you got to respect every one of them, and every one of them has got their different thing. I think I got a few tells on some of them, and I guess we'll find out.
One of these 3 players is going to become the next HPT champion. Back for more action from Belterra Casino Resort.
Welcome back to the HPT with Maria Ho. I'm Fred Bevel. We are getting very, very close to our newest HPT champion. Let's take a look at the updated chip count.
And as we look at the chip count, the flip-flop continues for the top spot. Mike and Matt have been battling it out all day, and now Mike has pulled back ahead with 3.2, but Matt is closely on his heels with just a little over 3 million.
And Casey Yon still with 39 big blinds in his stack. He's a big pot away from making things really interesting here. Blinds remain at 25 and 50,000 with a 5K ante. And in three-handed poker, the button starts pre-flop, and that is on Casey Yonts. He folds.
All 3 players have enough to maneuver post-flop, so it's just about who's going to get a combination of the cards and play them well.
Mike Harris has 4 deuce in the small blind. Throughout this final table, we've seen Mike just kind of limp and fold to aggression. Lately, he's been picking up the aggression, but here again, he just limps. Matt James behind him with 8-6, checks his option.
Mike didn't want to just give up that 4 deuce from the small blind, but Matt didn't put any pressure on him to give it up either.
The flop brings a king 7-9 with a couple of diamonds, giving Matt an open-ended straight draw, and he's going to semi-bluff that draw, fire 75,000.
Raise.
What is Mike doing? Raising it makes it 175,000.
Well, Mike, you're proving me wrong. At least you are trying to take the pot away when you don't have a hand, and I can appreciate that.
Well, Matt, with just too big of a draw, cannot fold there. He's going to call. The turn brings an ace of diamonds. That makes things a little bit interesting. Both players hold a diamond.
It's a 100K bet.
Again, Mike is going to fire, makes it 100,000.
That's a pretty small bet from Mike, and I don't think it's going to do the job, as Matt now thinks that another diamond might win him the hand as well.
Well, he's almost 6-1 on his money. Do you fold an open-ended straight draw there too?
Probably not, and Mike's bet size looks a little bit bluffy to me.
The river brings a jack of spades.
I really hope that Mike has the fortitude to fire another bullet, because Matt has missed all of his draws and he will fold.
Mike does not do that. He checks, and Matt might be thinking the only way he can win is by betting. But he's going to check, and he's going to discover 8 high is actually good.
And that is amazing. Matt probably didn't think he was going to win with 8 high. I think he just wanted to give up on the pot, but he is in fact going to win this pot.
Over 650,000 chip pot. That's a pretty substantial size pot. Action in this hand. We'll start with Matt. He's got a suited baby ace. I just like saying baby ace. It sounds cute.
It does sound cute. Got a little baby ace.
He's going to raise it up. Makes it 115,000 to go. Casey's going to fold. And look at this. Another big pair for Mike. This time 10s.
Pretty sure he's going to 3-bet here. He might just go all in.
Or he might just call. And that's what he does. He completes Matt's raise, calling 65,000 to see a flop.
I don't feel like this is a trap so much as Mike is just, once again, trying to play it safe, playing small ball poker. 10s is a huge hand to not be 3-betting pre-flop, though.
The flop comes down 3 Jack Queen with a couple of diamonds. Mike's 10s way ahead now.
But now he might even be a little bit more afraid, given that there are 2 overcards to his pair. We'll see if Matt's able to take this pot away from him again.
Well, Mike does check, and Matt checks behind. That's a little surprising.
And now Mike has to feel a little bit more comfortable with his hand, especially since the turn pairs the 3.
Mike fired out 100,000 before the dealer could even pull his hand back after putting the turn out there, and Matt quickly calls.
Matt's thinking his ace high is good here, but it's not, and Mike is going to go ahead and quickly bet again, this time a bet of 200K.
Well, we haven't seen Mike bet a lot on the river. Maria, that should raise some red flags in Matt's head, don't you think?
Yeah, but unfortunately, Matt doesn't want to let the ace high go, and he's going to see that he's beat.
Well, Matt pays him off, giving Mike a nice sized pot of just under 900,000. Whew! The action is getting pretty intense here. More poker from Belterra Casino Resort when we come back. Welcome back to the beautiful Belterra Casino Resort Hotel from Florence, Indiana. 3-handed now as we get to our next HPT champion.
And it looks like the battle between Mike and Matt is coming to a bit of an end, as Mike has now pulled way ahead with almost 6 million in chips, leaving Matt on the bottom with just a little bit over $1 million.
And Matt down to 23 big blinds. He's going to have to chip up pretty quick. Mike finally broke through with a big hand, widened that gap. Those guys have been locked up pretty close to each other all day long. He's got to be enjoying that comfortable chip lead now. Action will start with Mike on this hand.
Mike's going to look down at pocket 9s.
Boy, I'm going to start nicknaming him Card Rack. We've seen jacks, 10s, and now 9s.
Yeah, but the problem is you got to play them. Seems to be like the hard part for Mike. But this time he's going to open to 100,000.
Matt's going to fold behind. Casey's going to go ahead and call from the big blind with a suited ace. And here comes the flop.
The flop is deuce of diamonds, 5 of clubs, 3 of spades, giving Casey a gut shot and second pair, but Mike is still ahead with an overpair of 9s to the board.
Mike's got to feel real comfortable with his hand right now as he's going to bet 450,000.
And I'm detecting a bit of a bet sizing tell from Mike. He bets a little bit bigger when he has it, but smaller when he's bluffing. And hopefully Casey and Matt will stick around long enough to catch on to that.
Well, Casey hasn't. He has gone all in.
And unfortunately this time, Casey's aggression is going to get the better of him as Mike has a hand he's not going to fold. At least I think he's not going to fold.
Well, he's got over $5 million in chips. It's 1.115 to call. He makes the call. He's going to find out. He's way ahead, but Casey's definitely got some outs.
Casey can hit an ace, the 5 to pull ahead, or a 4 to make a gut shot wheel. Mike is looking to stay in the lead, though.
A diamond on the turn would create a fun sweat. It's not a diamond, though. It's a 10 of hearts.
4 ball.
So an ace, 5, or a 4 are the only cards that are going to help Casey. Otherwise, he will be eliminated in 3rd place.
And the river's not going to do it for him. It's the queen, and Casey is going to be our 3rd place finisher. I have to say I've really enjoyed watching him play. He's done a lot of things to impress me. Let's hear what he has to say.
Winning 40K is nice. I could have been out a few times. I got lucky all in. I ran pretty good all in. I couldn't get there the last time. So I'm happy. 40K is nice. Like I said, I've been on a really big downswing, so 40K does a lot to recover that. And yeah, I feel good going forward. I felt like I played good. Throughout the tournament, I just, today, I just didn't really get in my hands and couldn't do what I really wanted to do, but it was good.
Thank you, Casey. And now it is heads up poker. Matt James, Mike Harris, both have had the chip lead. Right now, Mike, a huge chip leader, going for his 2nd HPT champion. And right off the bat, Matt goes all in with King 9.
They're not going to waste any time. Matt's going to go all in with King 9 offsuit, and Mike is going to make the call with Jack 10 of diamonds.
9 of clubs.
Well, Matt really had an auto call stack compared to Mike's stack, don't you think, Maria?
Absolutely, and that's why it's great to find yourself heads up with such an overwhelming chip lead.
And here comes the flop. It is 4, Jack 5 with 2 diamonds.
It pretty much has the hand all but locked up for Mike. He flopped top pair with a flush draw. Matt's going to need a non-diamond king in order to double up and stay alive in this heads-up battle.
Let's go ahead and see.
Here comes the turn. It is a diamond, and that is going to do it, Maria. Matt is drawing dead, and we have our newest HPT champion. It's the cowboy, Mr. Mike Harris.
I would have liked to see these two players battle it out just a little bit longer as they've been battling all day, but Matt's definitely hung in there throughout this final table. Let's hear what he has to say about his experience here with James Larson.
Thanks so much, guys. I am now joined with Matt James, who finished in 2nd place. Tell me how you thought you played at that final table.
Well, I thought I played well. There was one hand, ace 5. I did lose a lot of chips in that hand against Cowboys ace 10. I just felt like he didn't have the ace in that hand. That's why I called. But other than that hand, I think I played really well. I don't think I made too many mistakes other than that.
That is Matt James. He finishes 2nd place here at Belterra Casino Resort in Florence, Indiana. Maria and Fred, we'll send it back over to you.
Thank you again, Matt. We hope to see you at an HPT event very, very soon. Mike the Cowboy Harris. He won an event with us on the HPT last season in Colorado. Now he can join the ranks of Greg Raymer and Jeremy Dresch as multiple champions on the HPT. He's a good guy. Let's go down to the floor. He's standing by with James Larson.
Thanks, Maria and Fred. I am now joined with our new HPT champion. Give it up for Mike Harris, everybody. All right, Mike, well, shake my hand because you did it, and you did it again. You won that event in Colorado, came back here to Indiana. Tell us your secret, man.
I don't know. Just had a kind of a good run. Everything worked good, and just kind of tickled to be here.
Well, how about we transfer some cash over to you? Just over $95,000. How does it feel now that the tournament's over? 276 players, you're the last man standing, and you got the money right there. How does it feel?
It feels awfully good. Thank you, Belterra, HPT, all you guys, all the spectators, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. This is just awesome.
Give Mike Harris a big round of applause. His second HPT championship, this time at the Belterra Casino Resort in beautiful Florence, Indiana. We'll send it back to Maria and Fred.
Thank you very much, Mike, and congratulations again on your championship. Now, Maria, you had a lot to say about this final table. The floor is yours, madame. Tell me what you thought of the play today.
You know, I saw a couple of interesting plays, a little suspect here and there, but for the most part, I feel like most players did what they could with what they had. Mike Harris at the start of the final table was starting to worry me a little bit with his passive play, but when it got shorthanded, he definitely turned it around.
He did indeed, and now he is our newest HPT champion. Now, do you think you have what it takes to be the next HPT champion? Log on to hptpoker.com and find an event near you, or heck, get on a plane and make an effort to come see us. I guarantee you it'll be a lot of fun. For Maria Ho and James Larson, I'm Fred Bevel. We'll see you next time on the HPT.